clandestino aquí presente.
Che Guevara went straight to the top of the CIA's most wanted list after organising the military side of the Cuban Revolution. He wanted to spread communism throughout Central America. The CIA wanted him stopped. By 1967, Che and his band of guerrilla fighters were in the jungles of Bolivia. The USA had had enough. Che had to go.
The whole concept of guerrilla war was enshrined and symbolized, personified in Che Guevara. So long as he was free, so long as his reputation, which was always greater than his successes, continued to circulate, the idea of armed resistance to American imperialism continued, as long as he lived.
The CIA was terrified of Che because he was obviously very popular. He was young, he was good looking, the girls liked him and so on, and he was fashionable. And suddenly communism wasn't sort of red in tooth and claw communism. It was, hey, Che Guevara, you know, well, could be the father of my baby. So the CIA decided it was time to get rid of Che, and they did their very best to assassinate him. In those days, CIA-sponsored assassinations, wet jobs, executive action, whatever you call it, were allowed. And they caught up with him eventually in Bolivia.
So the CIA came up with a plan to get rid of him. Felix Rodriguez, the CIA's main man in the hunt for Che Guevara, has admitted to ordering his assassination.
Guevara was finally picked up by a Bolivian ranger. Bear in mind, this was a highly trained counter-guerrilla force, trained by the Americans, and he was then taken to a small schoolhouse in La Higuera, where his presence was announced, and where there was, in particular, one man, Felix Rodriguez, who had been in Cuba, been at the Bay of Pecos, and is a figure who reappears constantly through the next 30 years of the CIA's history. He was in La Higuera. He claims, his account is that he received a phone call instructing him to murder Guevara and authorize his killing by a local Bolivian sergeant. Che Guevara was murdered on October the 9th, 1967. In the minds of the CIA and the people around them, a dead Che would be one danger less, that he would be eliminated from the scene. To look around the world now in the beginning of the 21st century and see to what extent the image of Che Guevara has not only persisted, but has been picked up again precisely as a symbol of resistance, of anti-imperialism. You know, if they sought to kill off that idea, they failed.
Ironically, a dead Che Guevara became a much bigger problem for the CIA than the live one. Instead of dying away quietly, Che's face quickly became one of the most recognizable and iconic images in the world. And it still is today.
I think Che became an icon because he stood for something. And it was at a time where revolution was in the air in terms of how young people thought, and especially students. The company that I started, you know, Red or Dead, came out of the phrase better red than dead, and it was all of that time about young people thinking about revolution. Increasingly, there's a big industry behind Che. I remember a T-shirt out not so long ago with Jesus done in the same black and red with his crown of thorns, and you had to take a double take to see if it was a Che T-shirt, or if it was a picture of Jesus. But then more overt than that, you know, you get Ricky Gervais, you get Madonna, you get Citizen Smith. You know, there's all these marketing departments and stylists saying, well, for this video, do a bit of Che because, you know, it fits with the style of it, and it'll get you in the press on this and that, and it's a surefire winner.
I think the idea that Che Guevara represented a threat to Western democracy was complete balderdash. He was an attractive man who spoke revolution, you know, who smoked cigars, who wore those kind of sexy green fatigues, but he didn't represent a threat to the Western world. But in the warped mind of some CIA people, policymakers, they thought this man is potentially very dangerous. You know, he could inflame the young towards the idea of Marxist revolution.
Well, probably the best way to become an icon is to be assassinated by the CIA.